You'd be nothing without me. You know that, right? She didn't raise her voice when she said it. She didn't smile either. It came out flat and confident, like she was reminding me of something obvious I'd temporarily forgotten. We were standing in my kitchen, her phone in her hand, a half-edited photo glowing on the screen. She didn't even look up when she said it. She just waited for me to absorb it. That sentence landed heavier than any fight we'd ever had. Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because of how settled she sounded. Like she'd already decided where I stood in her story. Like I was a supporting character who'd overstayed his usefulness. I asked her to repeat it. Not angrily. Calmly. I wanted to make sure I'd heard her right. She sighed, finally looking at me, irritation flashing across her face like I was slowing her down. I'm saying you wouldn't be where you are without me. People take you seriously because of who you're with. Because of my brand. My exposure. My reach. There it was. Not a joke. Not a slip. A belief she'd been carrying for a while. I didn't defend myself. I didn't list achievements or remind her how we'd met or what my life looked like before her. Something about the certainty in her tone made it pointless. When someone truly believes they made you, arguing only confirms their importance. I just nodded once. That reaction seemed to bother her more than anger would have. She started talking again, faster now, filling the silence. About how far she'd come. About the room she was being invited into. About the people who returned her emails in minutes. About how she'd elevated both of us. She spoke like she was doing me a favor by explaining reality. As she talked, I realized something quietly terrifying. She wasn't threatening me. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was genuinely convinced this was the truth. That was the moment the relationship ended. Not later. Not after a breakup conversation. Right there, while she stood in my kitchen explaining my irrelevance to me like a lesson. I told her I needed some air and stepped out onto the balcony. The city was loud below, alive, indifferent. I stayed there longer than necessary, letting the noise replace the ringing in my head. When I went back inside, she was already back on her phone, editing captions, answering messages, sliding effortlessly back into her online world. We didn't talk about what she'd said that night, or the next day, or the day after that. On the surface, nothing changed. We still shared space, still ate together, still slept in the same bed. But something fundamental had shifted. I stopped offering help. Not dramatically, not as a statement. I just didn't volunteer anymore. When she mentioned an upcoming event and paused, waiting for me to say I'd call someone, I stayed quiet. When she complained about logistics or access or timing, I listened without solving. When she asked, directly, if I could connect her with someone, I said I was busy. She didn't notice at first. She was too confident in her momentum, too sure the machine would keep running on its own. A week later, she noticed. She came home annoyed one night, tossing her bag onto the counter. That hotel brand I told you about? They stopped responding. I shrugged. That happens. She studied my face, searching for something. Can you maybe follow up? You know the guy who runs their partnerships. I met her eyes. I don't think that's a good idea. That was the first crack. She laughed it off, but her laugh was tighter than usual. Over the next few days, more things stalled. A car rental that suddenly required full payment. A brand that postponed a collaboration. An invite that never came. She grew restless, irritable, started asking questions she hadn't asked in years. Who did I talk to at work? Had I heard anything? Did I think people were being weird lately? I stayed calm, polite, unhelpful. If you're still here, stay with me. This is where it actually started to unravel. One evening, she confronted me directly. We were sitting across from each other, the same kitchen, different energy. Did you say something to people? She asked. I didn't pretend not to understand. No, I said. I just stopped saying things. She frowned. What does that mean? It means I stopped vouching. I stopped opening doors. I stopped smoothing things over. Her face flushed. You're doing this on purpose. I considered that. No, I'm just letting things be what they are without me. That's when her confidence cracked. Not shattered, just cracked enough for panic to seep through. She accused me of being petty, of sabotaging her, of punishing her for being honest. I didn't argue with any of it. I simply reminded her of her own words. You said I'd be nothing without you, I said. So I figured you didn't need my help anymore. She stared at me like I'd betrayed her, like I'd violated an unspoken contract she never asked me to sign, but fully expected me to honor. That night, she slept facing the other direction. Over the next few weeks, I watched something strange happen. Her world didn't explode. It sagged. Quietly. Subtly. Like a structure losing support beams one by one. No dramatic collapse. Just fewer calls returned. Fewer doors opened. Less enthusiasm on the other end of emails. She worked harder. Posted more. Smiled wider online. But offline, the anxiety crept in. She refreshed analytics compulsively. Talked about algorithm changes. Blamed timing. Blamed jealousy. Blamed anything but the absence of the thing she'd dismissed. And through all of it, I stayed exactly where I was. Doing my work. Living my routine. Saying very little. She thought I was replaceable. She thought access was automatic. She thought momentum was permanent. She was about to learn the difference between being visible and being supported. And I was finally done cushioning the fall. By the second week, the tension in the apartment had a shape to it. You could feel it before anyone spoke. She paced more. Checked her phone constantly. Started mentioning names out loud. Almost performatively, like she was reminding the room, and me, that she still mattered. So-and-so DM'd me today, she'd say, scrolling. This brand is interested, but they're being slow. I might need to pivot my content strategy. I nodded when it made sense. I didn't ask follow-up questions. I didn't offer fixes. That absence drove her crazier than an argument ever could have. One night she snapped. We were eating dinner she'd barely touched. Her plate pushed away, phone face down for once. "You're being weird," she said suddenly. "You used to care." "I still care," I replied. "Just not in the same way." She laughed, sharp and humorless. "So this is your revenge?" Silent treatment. I set my fork down carefully. "It's not revenge. It's boundaries." That word hit her like an insult. "Boundaries," she repeated, rolling her eyes. "You're really leaning into that lately." I didn't respond. Silence does something strange when you stop fearing it. It stops being empty and starts becoming firm. She leaned forward. "You know I didn't mean it the way you took it." "Which part?" I asked. "The part where you said I'd be nothing without you, or the part where you explained it twice?" Her jaw tightened. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said calmly. "I'm being observant." That conversation ended the way most of ours did by then. Unfinished, unresolved, hanging in the air like smoke. But something changed after it. She stopped assuming I'd stay no matter what. And that scared her. The third week was when consequences stopped being theoretical. She came home late one afternoon, heels kicked off by the door, eyes glossy with frustration. "They pulled it," she said flatly. "Pulled what?" "The partnership. The big one I told you about. They said they're restructuring their influencer strategy." She laughed bitterly. "That's code for they don't want me." I waited. "They were excited last month," she continued, voice rising. "They flew me out. Loved my engagement numbers. This doesn't make sense." I looked at her then, really looked. For the first time since that night in the kitchen, she didn't look superior. She looked confused, unsteady, like someone standing on ground that suddenly felt thinner than expected. "Things change," I said. "That's the industry." She stared at me. "You know something." "I know what you already told me," I replied. "You don't need me." That was the moment anger replaced anxiety. "You think you're so noble," she snapped. "Sitting there acting calm while you quietly poison the well." "I haven't poisoned anything," I said. "I just stepped away from it." "You're enjoying this," she accused. I shook my head. "No, I'm accepting it." That night, she didn't sleep. I know because I didn't either. She paced, took calls on the balcony, whispered urgently into her phone, crying once when she thought I couldn't hear. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling something I hadn't expected. Relief. Not because she was struggling, but because I wasn't. By the fourth week, her online persona started cracking. Not publicly at first. She was too careful for that. But in the details. Less polished captions. Recycled locations. Posts that felt forced instead of effortless. Her comments section shifted tone. Questions replaced praise. Where did the luxury content go? Feels different lately. Did something happen? She read them obsessively, refreshing, deleting, replying defensively. She started blaming algorithms out loud, then people, then bad luck. She never once considered that the ladder she'd climbed had been steadied from below. One afternoon, she finally said it. "I think you're trying to teach me a lesson." I met her gaze. "I'm not your teacher." "Then what are you doing?" "I'm listening," I said. "You told me who you thought I was. I believed you." She opened her mouth, closed it again. For the first time, she seemed unsure which version of me she was talking to. The one who used to help quietly, or the one standing in front of her now? Do you even care what happens to me? She asked. I thought about it before answering. I care. I'm just not responsible anymore. That distinction broke something. The accusations escalated after that. She called me unsupportive, petty, emotionally withholding. She told mutual friends I'd changed, that I was bitter, that I couldn't handle her success. I didn't correct her. But here's the thing she didn't anticipate. I didn't need to defend myself. The people who mattered already knew the truth. They'd watched me build my reputation long before I met her. They knew who brought value into rooms and who simply enjoyed being in them. And without me smoothing edges, making introductions, lending credibility, doors didn't just close. They stopped appearing. By week 6, she was frantic. Her mornings started with stress instead of confidence. Her nights ended with wine instead of plans. She began asking questions she'd never asked before, about my work, my schedule, my contacts. One evening, she sat beside me on the couch, too close, voice softer than it had been in weeks. I didn't mean to belittle you, she said quietly. I was just feeling powerful. Things were going well. I didn't move. I know I crossed a line, she continued. But couples say things. You don't dismantle someone's life over one sentence. I turned to her then. I didn't dismantle anything. I just stopped holding it together. Her eyes filled with tears, not dramatic ones, but panicked ones. So that's it. You're just going to watch. I'm going to live my life, I said. You're free to live yours. She shook her head slowly, like she couldn't accept it. You're punishing me. No, I replied. I'm respecting what you said. That night, she slept on the couch. By the next morning, she was already rewriting the past in her head, convincing herself this was temporary, that I'd cave, that things would stabilize again if she just waited me out. She still believed I'd blink first. She didn't yet understand that when someone finally sees themselves clearly, they don't rush back into the fog. And the real collapse, the public one, hadn't even started yet. By the time the 7th week started, her confidence had turned into urgency. It showed in small, frantic ways. She started waking up early again, not to work out or plan content like she used to, but to refresh emails. I'd see her sitting at the kitchen table in silence, laptop open, phone beside it, eyes darting between screens like she was waiting for something to explode. One morning she asked, "Did you talk to anyone?" I didn't pretend not to understand. "About what?" "About me," she said. "About everything." No, that answer hit harder than a fight. She stared at me like I'd just violated some unspoken agreement. "You used to," she said slowly. "You always talk to people. You smooth things over." "I used to," I agreed. She pushed her chair back, standing abruptly. "So you're just letting them assume things?" "I'm letting them observe," I replied. "Same as everyone else." Her phone buzzed. She snatched it up instantly, reading, then slamming it face down. "Another brand backed out," she muttered. "They said they're going in a different direction." "That seems to be happening a lot," I said, not unkindly. She rounded on me. Don't what? Don't act like this isn't connected to you." I held her gaze. "You told me you didn't need me." Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked away first. The thing she still didn't understand was that I wasn't coordinating anything. I wasn't scheming in back rooms. I wasn't whispering warnings or sabotaging deals. All I'd done was stop vouching, stop bridging, stop carrying. In my world, that was enough. By midweek, the calls started. Not to me, to her. I could hear them through the walls. The tone had changed. Where once people sounded excited, deferential, impressed, now they sounded cautious. Professional, distant. "We'll circle back. Let's revisit this later. Our legal team has concerns. We're tightening budgets." Every conversation ended the same way, polite rejection wrapped in corporate language. Thursday night was the first time she cried openly in front of me. Not loud, dramatic sobs. Just quiet, shaking breaths while sitting on the edge of the bed, makeup streaked, phone clutched in her hand like it had personally betrayed her. "They won't even respond anymore," she whispered. "It's like I disappeared." I leaned against the doorway, arms relaxed. That's what happens when access goes away. She looked up sharply. "So you admit it." "I admit what?" I asked. "That you were the access." I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. "I was part of it," I said. "So were you. But parts matter." She wiped her face angrily. "You could fix this." I shook my head. "No, I could delay it. There's a difference." That was the moment desperation crossed into resentment. "You like this?" she said suddenly. Watching me struggle, watching me lose. "No," I replied. "I like knowing where I stand." She laughed bitterly. "You think this makes you strong? I think it makes me honest." That night, she slept in the bedroom. I took the couch, not out of spite, out of clarity. Something fundamental had shifted. We weren't a couple navigating a rough patch. We were two people standing on opposite sides of a truth neither of us could undo. The following weekend, the first real humiliation hit her. She got invited to an event last minute, a brand-hosted rooftop mixer. Not one of the big ones she used to headline, but something smaller, scrappier. She spent hours getting ready, pacing, rehearsing captions out loud like affirmations. "I just need to show face," she told me while adjusting her outfit. "Remind people I'm still relevant." She left confident. She came back 2 hours later furious. "They barely acknowledged me," she snapped, kicking off her shoes. "No VIP access. No dedicated photographer. They treated me like a regular guest." I raised an eyebrow slightly. "You were a regular guest." She glared. "I wasn't before." "No," I agreed. "You weren't." That night, she posted photos anyway. Tight angles, cropped backgrounds, captions implying exclusivity. I watched her curate reality in real time, trying to preserve an image that was already slipping. The comments weren't what they used to be. "Looks smaller than usual. Thought you had a bigger partnership with them? Did something happen?" She deleted half of them within minutes. By week 9, the influencer persona was cracking audibly. She started talking about burnout, about taking a step back, about realigning values. Code words for retreat. Her stories shifted from champagne and rooftops to vague quotes about resilience and growth. Followers noticed. Engagement dropped. Algorithms adjusted. Momentum slowed. And then, inevitably, she tried to renegotiate. It happened late one night, when the apartment was quiet and her defenses were down. She sat beside me on the couch, not touching, but close enough to feel intentional. "Maybe we both said things we didn't mean," she said carefully. "Maybe we overreacted." I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't apologetic. She was strategic. "I meant what I said," I replied. Her eyes flashed. "So did I? At the time. But people change." "Yes," I said. "They reveal themselves." She swallowed. "What would it take for you to help again?" There it was. Clean. Unmasked. "I don't help people who think I'm beneath them," I said calmly. Her voice hardened. "So you're just going to let me fail? I'm going to let you stand on what you built." She stood abruptly, anger boiling over. "You're destroying me." I didn't raise my voice. "No, I stopped protecting you from gravity." That sentence ended the conversation. She stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. I stayed where I was, feeling something unexpected settle into place. Not triumph, not anger, but certainty. The kind that doesn't waver. The next morning, she was gone early. No goodbye, no note. Just the faint smell of her perfume lingering like a habit that hadn't quite faded yet. By the time she came back that evening, she was different. Quieter, focused, like someone who had finally realized they weren't negotiating anymore. They were surviving. And the public reckoning she'd been avoiding was only days away. The public reckoning didn't arrive with a bang. It crept in quietly, the way real consequences usually do. It started with silence. No tags, no reposts, no "so grateful for this partnership" captions. Brands she'd worked with for months stopped acknowledging her entirely. Not hostile, just absent, as if she'd slipped out of the room while no one was looking. On Monday morning, she sat at the counter scrolling through her analytics, jaw clenched so tight I thought it might crack. "My reach is down 30%, she said flatly. I didn't answer. She refreshed again. "That doesn't even make sense." I posted at peak time. Still nothing from me. She turned. "Are you enjoying this?" "No," I said honestly. "I'm noticing it." She scoffed. "You always do this. You act calm like you're above it, but you're punishing me." I met her eyes. "I'm not punishing you. I'm not intervening." "That's the same thing." "It's not," I replied. "One is action. The other is absence." She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. By midweek, her phone rang nonstop, but not with offers. With questions. "What happened between you and Jake? Are you still connected to the Brickell crowd? Did you switch management?" She answered each one carefully, crafting responses that sounded confident but explained nothing. I recognized the tactic. Delay long enough, and maybe the problem solves itself. It didn't. Thursday evening, she came home unusually quiet. No shoes kicked off. No dramatic sigh. She placed her bag down gently, like she didn't want to disturb the room. "They pulled the campaign," she said finally. "Which one?" "All of them." That got my attention, not because I was surprised, but because she sounded hollow. She sat down across from me. "They said my brand alignment had shifted." I nodded once. "It has." She laughed sharply. "You're unbelievable." "I'm accurate." Her eyes filled, but she blinked it away. "I built this," she said. "You know that, right?" "I know you worked hard," I said. "I also know where the doors came from." She leaned forward. "So what, you think I deserve this?" "I think this is what happens when you mistake access for ownership." That sentence landed heavy. For the first time since the fight, she didn't snap back immediately. She looked scared. That night, she posted a long story about transitions and new chapters. The comments were mixed. Supportive at first glance, but the tone underneath had shifted. People were asking why the luxury content stopped, why the lifestyle suddenly looked smaller. She didn't sleep much. Neither did I. The next escalation came from a direction neither of us expected. Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't saved. "Hey," the voice said cautiously. "It's Marcus, from the hotel group." I stepped onto the balcony. "What's up?" He hesitated. "Vanessa reached out. Wanted to reconnect directly. Asked if I'd reconsider working with her. And I told her no," he said. "Not because of anything you said, but because she handled it badly. She assumed we owed her." I exhaled slowly. "She told us you were holding her back," Marcus continued. "That you were jealous. That you didn't want her to outgrow you." I closed my eyes for a brief second. "I figured you should know," he added. "Because that's not how it looked from our side." "Thanks for telling me," I said. "I appreciate it." When I went back inside, she was already watching me. "Who was that?" she asked. "A former partner," I replied. Her voice tightened. "Did he say anything about me?" "Yes." She stood. "And?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I just said the truth. "He said you told them I was holding you back." Her face drained. "That's not," she started, then stopped. Her shoulders sagged. "Okay." I said something like that. "Why?" "Because I was angry," she snapped. "Because you cut me off." "I didn't cut you off," I said. "You cut yourself loose." She shook her head. "You don't get it. I was trying to save face." "At my expense." Silence. This was the second peak. The moment where the private disrespect became public. "You didn't just dismiss me," I continued. "You rewrote me." She whispered. I panicked. "I know," I said. "But panic shows character." She sank onto the couch. "So what now?" "Now," I replied. I stepped back even further. Her head snapped up. "What does that mean?" "It means I won't correct the narrative you started. I won't explain. I won't defend myself. I'll let people draw their own conclusions." "That will ruin me," she said. "No," I replied calmly. "It will reveal you." She laughed bitterly. "You're cruel." "No," I said. "I'm finished." The following days were brutal for her. Invitations dried up completely. One by one, people stopped answering her messages. She tried reaching out directly. No intermediaries, no borrowed credibility, and discovered how cold the industry could be when you showed up alone. One night, I overheard her crying on the phone to a friend. "I don't understand," she sobbed. "It's like everyone just turned on me." I stayed in the bedroom, not out of spite, but because this wasn't my moment to enter. A week later, she tried one last angle. She cooked dinner, something she hadn't done in months. She set the table, lit candles, soft music. "I miss us," she said carefully as we sat down. I took a bite. "This is good." She smiled faintly. "I wanted to remind you of what we had." "I remember," I said. "That's why this doesn't work." She swallowed. "I said something horrible. I know that now." "Yes. But I was wrong," she added. "You weren't nothing without me." "No," I replied. "But I don't stay where I'm diminished." Tears spilled freely now. "So that's it?" "Yes." She nodded slowly, defeated. "Then I guess I really am on my own." I met her gaze. "That's what you wanted." She stood, pushed her chair in quietly, and walked to the bedroom. That night, she packed a bag. The real collapse, the one she couldn't curate or filter, was finally underway. She didn't leave immediately. That surprised me. For 3 days after that dinner, her suitcase sat by the bedroom door like a question neither of us wanted to ask out loud. She moved through the apartment carefully, quietly, as if any sudden motion might shatter what little dignity she had left. The influencer confidence, the sharp angles, the practiced smiles, was gone. In its place was someone constantly checking her phone, not for validation, but for reassurance that she still existed in other people's minds. It rarely came. On the fourth morning, I woke to the sound of her pacing. Back and forth, back and forth. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, counting her steps. It wasn't avoidance. It was acceptance. This part wasn't mine to manage. She finally stopped in the doorway. "Can we talk?" she asked. I sat up. "We are." She exhaled sharply, already frustrated. "You know what I mean. Really talk." I waited. She stepped inside, arms crossed tightly over her chest. "I didn't think it would be like this." "Like what?" "Empty," she said. "I thought people would still want me, that the brand was strong enough. And it's not," she snapped. "They don't care about me. They cared about the rooms I was in." I nodded once. Her voice cracked. "I thought I was the room." That line hit harder than anything else she'd said. For a moment, I almost felt something like sympathy. Almost. But sympathy without accountability just turns into rescue, and I was done rescuing. "You weren't the room," I said evenly. "You were the guest." She flinched. "I don't mean that to hurt you." I continued. "I mean it because you confused access with identity. And when the access disappeared, so did the illusion." She laughed weakly. "You sound like one of those men on podcasts." "I sound like someone who stopped lying to himself." She dropped onto the edge of the bed. "So what now?" I rebuild. "From nothing." "You rebuild from reality," I replied. "That's different." She stared at the floor. "I don't know how." "I know," I said. "That's the consequence." Her phone buzzed. She checked it instantly, hope flickering, then dying just as fast. "Another cancellation," she whispered. "They said they're going in a different direction." I didn't respond. She looked up, anger flashing through the exhaustion. "You could fix this." "I won't." "You could make one call." "I won't." Her voice rose. "You're enjoying this." "No," I said calmly. "I'm respecting myself." She stood abruptly. "So this is punishment. This is boundaries. You're destroying me," she said, tears spilling over now. "After everything I did for you." I didn't argue. I didn't list receipts. I didn't defend my history. I just said, "You don't get to rewrite the past because the present hurts." That ended the conversation. That night, she slept on the couch. The next morning, she was gone. Not dramatically. No final speech. No slammed doors. Just absence. Her suitcase was gone. Her toothbrush missing. Half her shoes still in the closet, forgotten in the rush. The quiet that followed was different from before. Not tense. Not hollow. Clear. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was sharing space with someone who resented me for existing. The fallout didn't stop, though. It accelerated. Within 2 weeks, word had spread far beyond what either of us controlled. Miami's luxury scene thrives on proximity and whispers. When one door closes, people ask why. When enough people ask, the story settles into something resembling truth. I didn't volunteer details. I didn't smear her. I didn't need to. When asked, I gave one sentence. She told me she didn't need me. That was it. People filled in the rest on their own. She tried pivoting. Fitness content. Motivation reels. Reinventing myself. Captions. But the audience she built hadn't followed her for depth. They followed for spectacle. And spectacle without resources collapses fast. Her engagement cratered. Sponsors ghosted. Invitations stopped coming. One evening, about a month after she moved out, I ran into someone we both knew at a rooftop event. He pulled me aside, lowering his voice. "She's been asking about you," he said. "I figured. She thinks you're blacklisting her." "I'm not." "Well," he hesitated. "It looks like you are." I met his eyes. There's a difference between blacklisting someone and no longer vouching for them. He nodded slowly. "Fair." A few days later, she called. I didn't answer. She texted. Long messages. Apologies wrapped in justifications. Admissions followed by blame. Promises to change. Requests to meet just to talk. I didn't respond. Silence is brutal when someone is used to attention. It forces them to sit with themselves, and most people don't like what they hear. The next escalation came when she showed up unannounced. I opened the door and found her standing there, smaller somehow. Less polished. No camera. No performance. "Please," she said. "Just 5 minutes." I stepped aside. She didn't sit. She paced. "I was wrong," she said quickly. About everything. I see it now. I believe you, I replied. Her relief was immediate. Then, that doesn't change anything. Her face fell. So there's no way back. No. She swallowed hard. I thought if I admitted it, you'd help me again. I helped you because you were my partner, I said. You made it clear I wasn't. She nodded slowly. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I didn't leave, I said. I stopped carrying. That broke her. She cried openly now, hands covering her face. I don't know who I am without all of it. That's something you should have figured out before you told someone they were nothing. She stayed quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was flat. I guess I really did believe my own story. Most people do, I replied. Until reality edits it. She left without another word. I closed the door and locked it. Not out of anger, but out of completion. This chapter was ending whether she accepted it or not. And for the first time since all of this began, I felt something unmistakable. Relief. The strange thing about relief is that it doesn't arrive with fireworks. It shows up quietly, in small moments you don't expect. Like realizing you haven't checked your phone in hours. Like cooking dinner without wondering if it's post-worthy. Like waking up on a Saturday and knowing the day belongs to you. That's how it started for me. A week after she came by unannounced, I noticed something shift. The constant low-level tension I'd lived with for years, the feeling that I was always one wrong sentence away from being dismissed, was gone. There was no audience anymore. No one measuring my value against engagement metrics or social relevance. Just me. And yet, her collapse wasn't finished. Not even close. The first public crack appeared when one of her former brand partners posted a story featuring another influencer. Same hotel, same pool, same angles. The only difference was the person in the frame. Someone newer, hungrier, easier to control. I didn't know about it until my phone buzzed with a message from a mutual acquaintance. Hey, it read, "This is awkward, but have you seen what's happening to her?" I hadn't. I didn't ask for details. But curiosity has a way of finding you anyway. Later that night, I opened Instagram for the first time in days. Her profile was still there, still curated, but the energy was off. The comments told the story better than the posts ever could. Missed the old content. Why does everything feel different now? Are you okay? You don't seem like yourself. She responded to some, ignored others, over-explained in places where silence would have been smarter. The confidence was gone, replaced by a brittle defensiveness that didn't fit the image she'd built. A few days later, a friend who worked in marketing called me. "I'm not trying to gossip," he said, "but your ex applied for a junior role at our firm." I paused. Did she? Yeah. Social media coordinator. Entry level. That's different. She didn't get it, he added gently. They were worried about her attitude. I thanked him and ended the call. I sat there for a while after, not feeling triumphant, not smug, just aware. A truth settling into place. Influence without humility doesn't age well. Then came the second peak. The one she couldn't control. It happened at a charity fundraiser. Ironically, the same type of event where we'd first met years earlier. I was there for work. A client had asked me to attend, shake hands, make introductions. Business as usual. I hadn't expected to see her. But when I did, the room seemed to tilt slightly, like the ground shifting under old memories. She was standing near the bar, alone. No entourage, no camera crew, no borrowed sparkle. Just her, holding a drink she hadn't touched, scanning the room like she was searching for someone who wasn't coming. She saw me at the same time. Our eyes met. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she straightened her shoulders and walked over. Determination etched across her face like armor she'd put on too late. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I replied. People around us pretended not to watch. They always do. "I didn't know you'd be here," she said. "I was invited," I answered simply. She nodded. "Of course you were." Silence stretched between us. "I need to talk to you," she said finally. Not like before. Just honestly. "This isn't the place," I said calmly. Her jaw tightened. "You don't get to decide that." "I do," I replied. "For myself." Her voice dropped. "You've been telling people things." I met her gaze. "I've been telling the truth when asked." "You've ruined my reputation." "No," I said evenly. "You built it on borrowed ground." It didn't hold. A few heads turned. The tension was no longer subtle. She laughed bitterly. "So this is it. You win." "I'm not competing with you," I said. I stopped playing the game. Her eyes flicked around the room, taking in the familiar faces. The same people who once fawned over her, now barely acknowledging her presence. I made a mistake, she said quietly. I know that. Yes, I agreed. And you're just going to let me fail? I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice so only she could hear. I'm not letting anything happen. I'm simply not preventing it anymore. That was the moment her mask slipped. Her composure cracked, frustration spilling out in a sharp whisper. You're enjoying this. Watching me disappear. I shook my head. I'm watching you learn. She stared at me like she wanted to argue, to lash out, to say something that would put her back in control. But she didn't have it anymore. I don't recognize you, she said. That's because you never bothered to look, I replied. A donor approached me then, smiling, hand extended. Business resumed like nothing had happened. When I looked back, she was gone. Not storming off. Not making a scene. Just gone. The next morning, my phone buzzed with one final message from her. I understand now. I really do. I'm sorry for who I was when I had you. I read it once. Then I deleted it. Not out of spite. Out of closure. Because apologies don't rebuild what contempt dismantles. And understanding doesn't entitle someone to a second foundation. That chapter had served its purpose. The rest of my life was already moving forward without her in it. By the time the noise finally stopped, I had already moved on. Not emotionally, practically. My days filled themselves without effort. Work expanded in a way it never had before. Clients noticed the shift immediately. I was sharper in meetings, more decisive, less distracted. When you stop carrying someone else's insecurity on your back, you walk differently. People pick up on that. A senior developer I'd worked with for years pulled me aside one afternoon after a closing. You seem lighter, he said. Whatever you changed, keep it. I smiled. Already planned on it. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same network she'd once claimed I needed her to access was now responding to me with more respect than ever. Not because I'd said anything. Because I'd demonstrated something most people don't. I'd removed value from someone who disrespected it, even when it cost me emotionally. That travels. Her situation, on the other hand, continued unraveling in slow, visible ways. She didn't disappear overnight. That would have been too clean. Instead, she lingered in the margins, still posting, still trying, still pretending momentum hadn't stalled. But the gaps between posts grew longer. The captions lost confidence. The comments thinned out. She tried collaborations with smaller creators, then smaller brands, then brands that paid in exposure. At one point, she posted a reel about starting over and humbling seasons. It performed badly. People don't follow luxury influencers to watch humility arcs. They follow certainty. And hers was gone. The final confirmation came from a place I didn't expect. I was at a quiet dinner with a woman I'd been seeing casually. Nothing serious, just honest, unforced company. She worked in PR. Midway through dessert, she paused, fork hovering. Can I ask you something kind of awkward? Sure. Did you used to date Vanessa? I nodded. She let out a slow breath. Okay, I thought so. What's up? She pitched herself to one of our clients last week. Came in confident, but disconnected. Like she was selling a story even she didn't believe anymore. And they passed, she said gently. Actually, they didn't even count her. They just didn't see the value. That was it. Not dramatic. Not cruel. Final. Later that night, as I walked home alone, it hit me how different this ending was from the ones we're taught to expect. No shouting matches. No revenge monologues. No viral blow-ups. Just consequence. Weeks later, I ran into her one last time. It wasn't planned. It never is. I was grabbing coffee early on a weekday, halfway through answering emails when I felt someone hesitate near my table. I looked up. She stood there holding a plain paper cup. No makeup. Hair pulled back. No performance left to offer. Hey, she said quietly. Hey. She glanced at the empty chair across from me. Can I sit? I considered it, then nodded. We sat in silence for a few seconds. I moved, she said eventually. Smaller place. Different neighborhood. Okay. I got a job. Marketing coordinator. Normal hours. That's good. She studied my face like she was trying to read something that wasn't there anymore. You seem fine. I am. She smiled faintly. I used to think that meant boring. I remember. She swallowed. I was wrong. I didn't rush to respond. I didn't soften my expression. I didn't harden it either. I didn't lose everything because you stopped helping me, she said. I lost it because I thought I didn't need anyone. I nodded once. That's closer to the truth. She looked down at her coffee. Do you ever think about us? Sometimes, I said honestly. Not the way you mean. She let out a small, sad laugh. Figures. Another pause. I don't want anything from you, she said quickly. I just wanted you to know. I see it now. What you gave. What I took. I believe you, I said. Her eyes flicked up. That's it. That's enough. She sat there for a moment longer, then stood. I hope you get everything you're building, she said. I already have, I replied. She nodded, accepting that answer for what it was, then walked out without looking back. I watched her go, not with satisfaction, not with regret, but with clarity. Some people confuse support with weakness. Some confuse access with worth. And some only learn the difference when the door stops opening. She once told me I'd be nothing without her. She was wrong. I didn't become something by tearing her down. I became something by stepping aside and letting the truth stand on its own. And that, it turns out, was more than enough. If you stayed until the end, you already know why this mattered. And if you've ever had to walk away from someone who only valued you when you were useful, then you know exactly what it cost and exactly why it was worth it.